Communication that regulates. Well, that's really about how you interact with others through your voice, your tone, your words, your body language, and presence that actually can calm the other person's internal state.
Sometimes just slowing down my voice, just even a tad, really not only helps me, but it helps the other person. And for me, I recognize, oh, I wasn't breathing for a moment. I went into that. And what I do, I do a couple things. I'll reach up my hand and touch skin to skin, which releases the oxytocin, especially for women.
Yeah, it's so important, this co-regulation and self-regulation and understanding that communication piece and how we can be so influenced by others that we can then catch it.
Welcome back to the Healing You Method. I'm Gloria Lybecker.
And I'm her co-host, Gail Donohue, and we're so glad that you're with us here today.
Yeah, today we're diving into something really close to the heart, communication, but not just words. We're exploring how to speak from the regulated heart, not from the panic of the alarm system.
Yes, this is something we both had to learn in our own relationships, right, Gloria?
You bet.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing to say the correct or right thing, and it's another to say it in a way that feels safe, not only for us, but also for the other person that we're with.
Yeah, so Gail, when you hear that phrase, communication that regulates, what comes up for you?
Well, I mean, that's such a great question. And I'm learning more and more about it all the time. Um, Communication that regulates. Well, that's really about how you interact with others through your voice, your tone, your words, your body language, and presence that actually can calm the other person's internal state. So our nervous system is constantly scanning for safety and looking for threat without us realizing it. And this is called neuroception. And how our body picks up clues from others tells us whether we're safe or not. And like I have a great example that just happened the other day. And it was when I was with a group of people, and I hadn't seen them for a long time. And very much this group of people, a group of professionals in powerful positions. And I had grounded myself and centered myself. And when I went in to be with them, I just could feel like great positive energy going back and forth. And I was able to stay really centered and feeling safe the whole time. But it was so interesting that little hooks didn't catch me. And so I love that I could be who I want to be in this situation much more than before. But the key thing, just to summarize here, is if somebody communicates with us in a way that feels critical or rushed or dismissive, that can trigger the stress response in us. And we might often, I would say, don't notice it. And a key relationships that we might not notice it in is with intimate relationships, family.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I really love that. It's amazing how the tone of voice and the tempo of their voice can really play into that as well. I've really noticed that for myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes just slowing down my voice, just even a tad, really not only helps me, but it helps the other person. And for me, I recognize, oh, I wasn't breathing for a moment. I went into that. So our tone, it's a co-regulation tool as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And so when I got a question for you, Gloria, about when you do get in a situation where you're dysregulated, or because maybe the other people that you're with are treating you with some dismissiveness or some criticism. So I've heard you talk about before anchor phrases.
Yeah.
So could you give us, share with us one that you use to help yourself stay grounded in tough moments?
Yeah, I actually have a story that I could share with that. Uh, when I was going through some of my training with one of the instructors, there was just something about this person that really was like how do I want to say that? They were a reflection of a previous relationship I'd had when I was younger. And that relationship was a dangerous one for me as a child. And so but there was something about the tone of voice, the mannerisms they had, the direct communication they would have that was very kind of clipped or felt harsh to me. And one time during a setting where there's a whole group of us, there was a communication where this person said something to me in that very harsh tone and said something like, well, if you follow through with that, I'm going to be really pissed. And it was the whole way that it was said. And it was also the facial expression of kind of squinting the eyes and the angry look. And I felt myself go into this place of like, felt like doom was descending upon me. And it was heightened because it was being witnessed. And what I
Mm,
do, when I do a couple things, I'll reach up my hand and touch skin to skin, which releases the oxytocin, especially for women. And that's more of a feel-good hormone, but it helps me come back into balance. And my anchor phrase is, I'm here. I'm here with you. You know, I'm
mm,
here. So it's like, for me, it's a bit of a time travel empathy where
mm,
my present day self recognizes that state shift that just happened. That's very subtle. Other people, if they're not trained in trauma, wouldn't recognize it. But it's me touching across time to that part and going, I'm here. And the other thing I said is, this is why we're here, to have a new experience. But it's like that I'm here with you. And it's in a recognition of my post-traumatic growth that's here to be with the post-traumatic stress that is integrating its fibers into that earned secure attachment.
mm.
And
Yeah.
it was really powerful for me to have that experience. And so it's been a stepping stone. I go, ooh, made it through that one because it was slippery slope for me.
Yeah. Well, your sharing about that is reminding me about being at this recent event with the group of professionals, and it was a celebration event, and I was, where people were catching up, etc. And I was sharing about, my excitement about all the work that we're doing together, and also sharing about the importance of self-empathy, and
Mm.
especially empathy that starts with oneself. And it was interesting because the reaction from this one individual was that, oh, most of us, I mean, come on, we're fine with self-empathy. We know how to do that. And too much of this emphasis on it is it's going to too much of an extreme, and it's just too soft. And I thought, yeah, they don't want to go there because it challenges their strength and their control and their professionalism, the sense of what they believe is professionalism. That was in my head afterwards, realizing it. But in the moment, I could feel some clenching and tensing up in my body, and my
Oh,
shoulders kind of rising up because it was being dismissive of what I was sharing, which I'm, excited about, and critical. And also with my experience, I've learned that it's quite important.
yeah.
So for myself, what I use for an anchor phrase is, I can be with this. I
Oh,
can be with this. And I also, because I was standing up and, a few people were around, what I did was I just pressed my forearm, not against my chest, but the lower down in my abdomen so that nobody would notice. And it was just like, just signifying that I'm with me, and
yeah.
I'm coming from that place of self-empathy for myself. And then I was able to respond back to them, not with coming from, geez, what are you saying? And wanting to influence them more with understanding. And I just was able to say, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Self-empathy can sound soft and maybe even indulgent, especially in high performance or high pressure settings. And, I used to think that too. And then I was able to share into some research. So yeah, it's so important, this co-regulation and
Yeah.
self-regulation and understanding that communication piece and how we can be so influenced by others that we can then catch it.
Yeah. Well, and part of it too is, especially when we have these relationships that have been ongoing and there's already a pathway of, oh, they're going to trigger me, or I don't enjoy their company so much, or whatever it may be, that there's some kind of a perception of a conflict in the communication that in
Hmm.
itself can be a trigger. And being able to, like part of what I was hearing you say is having that spaciousness to not take it personally, to
Yeah.
recognize, oh, this is where they are on their journey and they're not resonating with where I'm at, and that's okay. And
Hmm.
so I would like to share just a couple, depending on what your situation is, when your emotions rise, just for our listeners, ways that some examples is just acknowledging to yourself, ooh, I'm really feeling a lot right now. And that's okay. Because we do feel this whole gamut of frequencies of emotion, and that's okay. We need that. Or even say, acknowledging, wow, this really feels hard. And I choose to be with myself through it. It's these are choices. And when we recognize them and we can speak to the experience we're having, we don't have to identify that that's us and that's who we are, because those most likely are the patterns that were imprinted in our life before we would give consent. So just having several different ones like that, can be helpful. Or
Hmm.
even when the old patterns show up, like what you were experiencing, or even for myself, wow, this feels familiar. And I'm here right here